I know that my customers buy from me not only because they like my pieces, but because they understand who I am as a person.
There's a difference between helping someone that's got their own style, but they don't know how to express it yet, versus someone that comes to you with a question that's like, hey, where'd you get your stuff from?
The biggest thing has been that you don't have to be an expert in something to start doing it.
Yeah, you're kind of like literally throwing away cash. So not advisable, guys. Welcome to the Handmade Bosses show. I'm Steph, and my mission is to help you start, run, and scale an online handmade business and build a creative life you love. I went from being in a 9-to-5 that I absolutely hated to running my 6-figure handmade business in less than a year. So bosses, let's help you get your amazing products out there and get the sales you deserve. Hi everyone! Welcome back to the Handmade Bosses show, and I'm here with Jackie.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's great. So Jackie, just to give you a little bit of a backstory, Jackie makes amazing jewelry. I'm not going to say too much because I'm gonna let her do the introductions. I might have a little boxy box here to show you when she's going through that. So the first question is, how did you come across, I say us, at the time it was just me, but how did you come across me?
I came across you, I think it was in April or May of 2020 on YouTube. I was just searching for any and all Etsy information that I could find, and your videos just like hooked me because you answered very specific questions and it was very concise. And the other videos I had come across were kind of like rambling and all over the place. And I wasn't sure if I could really trust the information, but I was just like, yes, I like this. So I binged all of your videos. And I found your Facebook group. I binged all the lives in like 2 days. And it was just such good information. So
oh, I'm super glad. A lot of people actually it seems to be like a theme that everyone like binges stuff first, and then they're like, right, okay, this is the person.
Yeah, exactly. I had so much to binge, so I was like, yes, I like this.
There's a lot. And yeah, just if you're watching, don't go back like at the very beginning, because my very first few videos were not very good. So yeah, I beg you, please don't go back that far.
No, they're fine.
So you are in the Handmade Bosses Success Academy, which used to be called the Shortcut to Success. That confuses people. Basically, a bit like you guys, we go through a few rebrands. So we've been through one. So basically, it was originally like a course. It's got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's just this massive beast of a thing that is the Academy. So you are a student, and you have been for a while. When did you first enroll in the Academy?
I enrolled in July of 2020. So it was a few months after I had found your YouTube videos, and I knew I wanted to enroll the second it became available. So I just jumped on it.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So in your words, not mine, what did the Academy do for you? Like, what effect did it have on your business, like before and after kind of thing?
So I think even before I took the course, I was implementing so much of the information that I was getting from your YouTube videos and your Facebook group. And that alone got me to the point where I was making $5,000 a month. Where I'd been making like a few $100s here and there before. So once I took the course, I had a goal in mind because I knew I wanted to start my own website, and I did that last September, but I didn't want to leave Etsy. And I know that a lot of people do leave Etsy when they start their website, but like, I just think that's crazy because there's so much that Etsy has to offer. And that's what I wanted to use your course for, was to get my Etsy to the point where it was kind of running on its own when I opened my website. And that's exactly what happened. Like, my Etsy sales have kind of stayed steady. ever since then, and I barely touch it. So.
Oh, that's fab.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. We have been having some great conversations so far on today's episode, but I've got something even more special for you. You know what it takes to be shown on page 1 on Etsy, right? Yep, you guessed it, increasing your conversion rate. My 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate is my signature free masterclass. And boss, I'm saving a spot for you. Learn how to increase your conversion rate in 3 easy steps, as well as the top 3 mistakes I see Etsy shops make on a daily basis. Sign up in the show notes or head to handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion, CONVERSION, to claim your spot. Now let's get back to the episode, and I can't wait to see you there, boss. I think a lot of people do, they get success on like Etsy and then they think that having a website is the next step up. But it's like asking a person, and I said this on a couple of episodes ago, but it's like asking someone if you should buy a boat or a car. They're both two completely, they both do different things. So yeah, if anyone's watching and they're like at this kind of stage, I wouldn't say just give up on Etsy, because it's like trading your car in for a boat. It's like, well, it's not going to get you to work and back. It might,
right? Especially if you already have an Etsy set up. I feel like you're just throwing away customers that are already there, you know.
Yeah, you're kind of like literally throwing away cash. So not advisable, guys. So you make botanical jewelry, and I am a fan. So I have purchased my very first Jackie piece and it is this really beautiful, I need to like turn it the right way, there we go, beach necklace, and I absolutely love it. So Jackie does like botanical jewelry, is that like the right way to describe it?
Yeah, I like to say nature inspired, because I have a few pieces that, you know, aren't botanical, but the majority of it is botanical with pressed flowers or pressed plants. Like I make wall hangings with ferns and leaves and stuff like that.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I love Jackie's jewelry, and I'm going to hold up her shop name, Grab Bag Botany, because I always butcher it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Grab Bag Botany. I think I did a shop critique actually on you, did I not? Like at the very, very beginning, or I did something with your shop, and I remember looking at it and being like, this is where I need to be, because I love flowers, I love plants, I've got plants everywhere, and I was like, putting them into jewelry. Why didn't I think of that? So what made you fall in love with doing that rather than just making like crochet scarves or like prints or any other type of like jewelry?
I definitely never intended to make jewelry. I've never made jewelry before. I didn't even think of myself as an artistic person, really. But I guess a little backstory on Grab Bag Botany and the name and everything. I like telling this story. My dad, when I was a child, he would take me and my brother into the woods to pick flowers for my mom, and he called it the Grab Bag Botany store. So he'd be like, hey guys, you want to go to the Grab Bag Botany store? And we'd be like, yeah, and we'd go pick flowers, and he taught us which flowers to pick and which flowers not to pick. So when I started this business, I was like, that's got to be the name, of course. But as far as how I started making the jewelry, I was actually in a yoga teacher training to become a yoga teacher, which I have never even taught a yoga class. But funny how things work out. But it just kind of unlocked some creative side of me. And we had to bring in art projects every week. And the theme of the week was change. And I don't know if you in the UK know, but in the Northeast part of the United States, we're kind of known for the foliage, the fall foliage. So the leaves turn like beautiful colors in the fall. And I happened to be there, that's where I'm from, and I wanted to find a way to preserve the leaves. So I found epoxy resin, I started making coasters, I started preserving all kinds of things. And then I was like, wow, I could start making jewelry so you can actually wear nature. And then I just went full force into that.
I love that. And I think two things. We do have fall in the UK, but we get about a week of it being really nice. Then it just falls down, gets wet, turns into sludge. So
Oh.
but I love the fact that, and a lot of people when they start shops, they struggle with the whole telling the story behind it. They really they can't kind of grasp that their little old story about making what they make with their gran or their sister or their mum or their dad, they don't kind of grasp that that's actually something that people do love. And I love your story. I think it's so good, and it's just like the perfect backing, really.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually found a picture recently of me when I was like 4 years old holding up a fern next to my mom, and it was just so cool.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that. So talking about like business and stuff now, what mindset shifts have you had to overcome like throughout business life? So like it could be in the beginning, middle, I won't say end, but you know, now kind of thing.
So many things. I know we've talked about this a lot when we did our coaching sessions, but just a lot of imposter syndrome. So I've had to kind of work through that. But I think the biggest thing for me, I recently read a book called Mindset, and it basically talks about there's two camps of people. You either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. So the fixed mindset people are very much like everything's the way it is, and they kind of get down on themselves when things go wrong. And then the growth mindset people are like, how can I fix this? And me at my core, unfortunately, I'm a fixed mindset person, and I know that. So I've had to really work hard when an issue comes up. My initial reaction is to freak out and just be like, okay, my business is over, it's done. You know, there's nothing I can do to come back from this. But then I have to like reel myself back in and say, no, why did this happen? What can I do to change it? How can we move forward? And that's the biggest thing for me, is just having a positive outlook, trying to focus on problem solving instead of freaking out. But
Yeah, I think that, and I think that the good news is that you can change it. So if you're like a fixed mindset person, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of like retraining your internal conversation, I guess, that you have with yourself. And you can definitely change it, because I used to be like very much like I mean, we're talking years ago, like very much like a fixed mindset person. I was like, right, I'm going to go to college, then I'm going to get a job, and then that'll be it. And it didn't sit right with me, and I was unhappy. And then obviously a lot of people watching this are probably either in that or going through the same thing, where it's like, you know, that's the path that you have to follow, and that's it. And you're taught that from a very young age. So it is kind of like a bad thing that a lot of people are in that fixed mindset until they're like open their mind like this much to this whole world that they could be doing, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that you had more of a fixed mindset too, because I don't see that at all. So that just goes to show that you can definitely change your mindset.
You can definitely change it. It took a lot of hard work, and 9 times out of 10, it's not really you that's got the fixed mindset. It's the 5 people that you spend the most time with around you that are like fixed mindset people. And I'm lucky that my mum is a very fixed mindset person. My dad is like very open-minded. He always comes up with crazy ideas. But again, he wasn't always like that. He actually really changed his mindset when he lost his job, and he was 48 at the time, and he thought that he, you know, couldn't get another job and, you know, change it up and all that. But he managed to change his entire mindset. So again, it just goes to show that there's not like an age limit on it. You can do it at any point of life. It's really interesting.
That's awesome. I love that for your dad.
Yeah, he's so funny. He comes up with all these like really wacky ideas, and it's like, okay, sure.
Sounds like my dad. But yeah, I never saw entrepreneurship as something that was for me, because of exactly what you're saying. Like what society tells you, you have to go to college and then get a job, and then you work for someone else for the rest of your life and you make a fixed salary. And that doesn't have to be how it is for you.
Yeah, we do get a lot of people, which is why like my whole philosophy, I guess, is like let's take this little business, hobby, whatever it is, and let's turn it into a lifestyle. I mean, a lot of people aren't like, I want to leave my job. A lot of people are like, I want to have something else there, like a creative aspect. Yeah. That kind of gives me that and feeds me that. So yeah, it is definitely something that I myself come across a lot, is a lot of people that are in the process of trying to change the mindset from fixed to growth. Interestingly enough, on your Instagram stories, because I follow you because your Instagram is so good. Like, I've started mine really, really recently, and I'm like, Jackie's as goals.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I do not feel that way.
It's so good. And the pictures and everything on there is just like, I mean, I'm your perfect target market. Everything you post, I'm like, I've got to buy this now. Like, oh my God. But you posted on there, was it last week? Something like that?
Mm-hmm.
About the fact that, and I didn't watch the entire thing because I was trying to like film at the time, and I go down this rabbit hole and I'm like, nope, I have to stop. But you were explaining on there, you were talking about how you've had other resin makers, so other people that kind of, I guess, kind of make the same thing as what you do. Obviously they don't, because every piece you make is completely unique. But you've had other resin people block you on Instagram. I feel like you went on a little bit of a rant. A little bit of a little bit. Tell us more about that. What happened? How do you feel about it now?
So this is something that I hadn't really experienced before. By and large, my experience with the maker community has been fantastic. There are a lot of people in the community who do botanical jewelry, but everybody has their own like unique style, and we try not to like step on each other's toes. We try to bring each other up. So if somebody's offering something that is different from what I would offer, I'll share it with my audience, because I like it. And I just think bringing up the community that's just what I'm all about, bringing people together versus, pushing people apart. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me who are just starting their shops, just starting working with resin, and ask me questions. And I'm always willing to help because I was there once. I was there pretty recently. And they always tell me, wow, thank you so much for just answering my question, because so many people are very guarded and they don't want to like share their secrets. So that was my first glimpse into kind of the cattiness that I guess is going on. But there was one maker in particular who I had looked up to, and I figured out somehow that she had blocked my business page because I still followed her on my personal page. And my initial thought was, what did I do? And I went to her page, and just to see, like, is there anything that I made that she could think that I copied her, like totally unintentionally, obviously. But I couldn't find anything. She has a very unique style. And so I reached out to her, and she kind of responded in a passive aggressive way. So I shared this to my stories, and I was just like, why are we doing this? Like, let's bring each other up. Why do we have to alienate everybody? There's room here for all of us. And that's something that I've definitely experienced, because when I started my Etsy shop, I was told 1,000 times, the market's too saturated. The jewelry market's too saturated. Too many people are doing this. It's not true. So I don't know. I might be different from how other people feel about it. But it was just really hurtful, honestly. And anyway, a lot of people reached out to me and said they kind of picked up on who this person was and said that she had blocked them too. And I don't know. I don't get it. Have you ever experienced something like that?
Oh yeah. 100%. Difference is though, is that I used to reach out to them and be like, can we be friends? And you don't get anywhere. It's, you know what? It's going back to the whole fixed mindset. People are like, there's only room for one resin jewelry shop to win. And it's like, no, no. I looked at the stats actually for 2020, the amount of buyers that are on Etsy doubled to 48 million people bought something on Etsy. And that's just people who bought something. That's not people who are going to buy something, people, you know. And there's something, and I can't remember the amount of shops, but it was like 1% of that number. So, you know, and these are people that are buying multiple items. It's not just one item. So it's like, when you look at the math of it, you're like, there's room for everyone to win. You know, if every single shop sold one item, you wouldn't even come close to that number, right? So I think it's sad that a lot of people tear each other down. And yeah, I mean, I know that on your Instagram you were saying about it, and you were like, why? Like, you know, and I know that recently you hit a big milestone in your business, and we're going to get to that in a minute, because that's really, really awesome. But have you found that's gotten worse as you've got more successful? Have you found that you feel more and more like other makers are pushing you away, for want of a better word?
I find two things. It's either they start pushing me away, or they start copying everything I do. So it's one or the other. And honestly, I'm that person who doesn't really care when I see that someone has copied me. Sometimes it's blatant. It's down to the exact style, the exact colors, everything. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, if you can't come up with your own ideas, you're going to slow down at some point, you know. And I know you've talked about that before. So it's not one of those things where I'm going to go around blocking people or confronting people about it, because it doesn't really matter to me. I know that my customers buy from me not only because they like my pieces, but because they understand who I am as a person. And I try to be very authentic on social media for that reason. And I just have connected with a lot of people, and I feel like that's where other makers are going wrong, is they see it as more of a competition instead of just like, do you make your own community instead of trying to like, I guess, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, there's room here for all of us. So yeah. But I have noticed that it's starting to get a little bit worse, and I'm starting to get way more questions from smaller makers, but I enjoyed that. I like to help people.
Yeah, and we actually talked about it on a live, I want to say like a couple of months ago, where someone was like, you know, there's a person that's been asking questions. Now they're actually asking me where I get my stuff from, like what's the kind of line. And it is a fine line, and it is definitely something that you've got to kind of like step back and say, if I give this person this info, can they like easily tootle on off and literally copy? You know, there's a difference between helping someone that's got their own style, but they don't know how to express it yet, versus someone that comes to you with a question that's like, hey, where'd you get your stuff from? or where'd you get, you know, I do find that, I mean, and it's great in one respect that you've hit this massive milestone. And again, we're going to talk about it in a second. But on the other hand, it's like all the makers that you looked up to, you're like breezing past them now. And now they're looking back at you and they're like, oh, okay. And you've got other people looking up to you now. So you're the one that's like the idol in a smaller maker's eyes, right?
Oh, it's so weird to think about it like that. But I mean, it's becoming that a little bit. So, but that's a good point about people asking exactly where you get your stuff. And that is where I do draw the line for the most part. Especially if it's somebody who's just DMing me out of the blue, like, hey, where do you get your stuff? And I try to be nice, and I just tell them like the steps to take to find something that's going to work for them. So I say, you know, this is what you're looking for. This is what you should be searching, and then pick a style that works with your brand, you know, because if you just use all of my suppliers, then we're going to have the same exact brand. So that's not what either of us are going for, you know.
And I think that people that copy you, like I say all the time, like they could copy everything you do, your branding, your fonts, your colors, everything. But at the end of the day, you've been the trailblazer first, and there'll always be people loyal to you. And also, as well, as they will always be like 18 steps behind you, because you're already thinking about your next 2, 3, 4, 5 product drops. You're already like that far ahead. They're just waiting for the day that you drop that product, launch it, and then they're like, oh, I've got like a month to go off and make it, and you're already like 3, 4 months ahead of them. So I think that if you're out there and you're worrying about, because I know that we get a couple of comments on lives that say, I'm worried about going on socials, I'm worried about posting behind the scenes. I think that at any point, it doesn't matter if you're open, like what you are, or whether you're extremely guarded, you're going to get people that copy some aspect of you because you're online. I think that's just the nature of the beast, right?
Right. And you just kind of have to know that and be okay with that. And it's okay to guard those ideas. But personally, I do like to share my process down to like the research and development part of it. So I'll be like, this is what I'm thinking. Here's a sneak peek of something that's coming months down the line. And in doing that, I realized that people are going to jump onto the idea and try to do the same thing before I do. But at the end of the day, my customers know that I've been sharing about this for months, and it's just not something that I'm super, super worried about.
No, it's like with this, like you shared this, like, oh, I don't even know, probably back in April, end of April, beginning of May, and I was like, it's a beach, it's got a beach on it. It's like I have to have it. So yeah, no, I do see, but again, a lot of people are worried about building the hype. And what would you say to someone who is worried about beginning to build hype on Instagram? I mean, let's just take that, right? What would you say to that person who's like, I want to build hype. I want to, before I launch anything, I want to really get people excited, but I'm scared that people are going to take the whole idea and run, right? What would you say to those people?
I would say to, number one, do it anyway, because your customers are going to want to see it. They're going to get excited about it. And then once you release it, they're going to buy. And if they see it elsewhere, they're not going to just go buy it from that person. They want to buy it because they've seen your process. They've seen your ideas. They know exactly how you're making it, and they're connecting with you as an individual and as a brand. And I just think that's important to remember, that there's always going to be competition, and you just have to bring something special to the table. And that is like you and your brand and your story.
Yeah, because no one has your thoughts. No one has your brain, right? No one's going to filter any particular ideas through all of that, right? So you're never going to have a person that can copy your stuff bang on. It's like someone couldn't go and make that and make it exactly the same, so for people that are worried about that, I think that that's not something that's going to happen. And also, like I say all the time, it's like once you get to a size, the kind of size that you are at, you're going to get it. It doesn't matter if you're an actual store. Look at, like, I don't know, Lush, right? How many people have copied bath bombs? How many people have done the colorful, funky skincare? Like, how many people have done that? Do you see Lush getting like hung up because Boots have just brought out, or local, I don't know, Walmart, Target have just brought out a line of like really lovely multicolored, but they don't care because they're already like 2-3 years ahead, right? I always use Lush. I need to stop using Lush as an example.
Well, it's a good example, because a lot of people are trying to do something similar.
Yeah, like the Body Shop. It was I think the guy that started Lush was a guy who used to work quite high up in the Body Shop, and he left and obviously begun his own. And you don't see the Body Shop being like, oh my goodness, no.
No, because they know that, they're just putting themselves out there. They're just looking ahead. They're not looking around at everybody else. And that's kind of what you have to do at that point.
That's perfect. So it's like, put their blinders on and just look ahead. Don't look around you. Don't, yeah, that's perfect. Actually, that's a really good way to put it. So let's talk about your recent milestone that you hit in your business. Tell us all about it. Give us the details.
Yeah, so I actually I was a little behind on doing my numbers, which I know is really bad. But I was looking at it and I was like, wow, I just hit $100,000. I didn't even realize it.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, thank you. So in like less than 17 months, I got to $100,000 in revenue, and I am pretty sure I'm on track to have my first like six-figure year in 2021. So that's what my goal is, which is crazy. I just started it last year, but yeah.
That is so amazing. I am like, oh, that is so awesome. I love that. I love that. You know, like when, because Jackie is that person. I mean, when we were working one to one, I started out being like, I'm going to set you guys like 5 to 6 pieces of homework. And it was like 12 pieces later. And Jackie was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do it. And Jackie was always the one who would like get it done. She'd like show up the next week, like finished, done, what's next? And it was like, oh, love it.
Oh, I loved it though. And that's why it was just so good for me, because I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. But when you were telling me, you were like, okay, here's your homework. I don't want to give you too much. And I was like, no, you need to give me everything. Like, and I'll do it.
And then I did.
And you did. And I did it. And it worked. So yeah.
That's epic. That's epic. So what's one thing that you wished you'd known right at the beginning? So let's say that you're going to go back to Jackie 17 months ago. What's like one thing that you wish that you would have known?
The biggest thing is Etsy SEO, probably. Because I did not know that at all. When I first started my shop, like the first 6 months, I think 85% of my traffic was sent there by me from social media, and I wasn't getting anything from Etsy. And that was the one thing that, you know, I had an established shop already, and I had to backtrack and update, totally change all of my listings. So I wish I would have known that from the beginning for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, there's been lots of like differing answers to that question, but you know, we've had mindset, we've had pictures, but yeah, no, I think getting and that usually, you know, what a lot of people do is if they throw up a shop and the first thing they say when it's not working out is my keywords are at fault. And like with you, it's like you have to know your entire brand, you have to do all of that back work, you have to know your target market, have your brand in place. You know, you have to know all of that before you can even start researching decent keywords. And that's, I think, the mistake that a lot of people make, is that they make a product, throw it up, and then kind of have to go back and do all of that work.
Exactly, which is what I did. And that's why it's hard to think of an answer to that question, because there's so many pieces that go together. And without one piece, you can't do the next piece. And like you're saying, like the branding is so important from the beginning, and knowing your target market, because if you have a product out there and you're trying to sell it to the wrong person, it's not going to sell. So it just all kind of fits together. And a lot of it is something that you learn along the way, and mindset is super important as well. But for me, and my purposes for what I was doing with Etsy, was probably learning SEO to get it kind of like on autopilot like I wanted it.
So do you think then that, if going back to like square one, if you'd have just done SEO, like let's say for example that was the only thing that you've been focusing on for the last 18 months, do you think you would be where you're at now just with the SEO work?
No.
No, okay.
Definitely not. No. And that's why I was saying, like, it's so hard, because everything kind of fits together, and you need to have the social media presence is super important, and the voice, and just your branding in general. The whole process, of receiving the item. Is it actually a quality item? Because if it's not a good product, then you're not going to get people to come back. So there's just so many things that are involved. And that's why your course was so helpful for me, because it was all of that jam packed into one thing.
Yeah, no, that's why it's so freaking huge.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like, one thing. Okay, so going off of that, so for someone that's listening / watching, what one piece of advice would you give to someone who's looking to scale a handmade business online to 100K, the point that where you're at now?
The biggest piece of advice is to just start and keep going, and do not listen to anything anybody else has to say. Because there are so many negative people, and there are probably going to be people in your personal life who are, cynical about it, or saying you're not going to succeed, or wondering why you're doing what you're doing. And you can't listen to any of those people. And it also goes for people online as well, because I have experienced a lot of people telling me, like, you can't make money on Etsy, you can't sell jewelry, it's too saturated of a market. And it's so not true. And if I had listened to those people, I never would have kept going. So that's the biggest piece of advice, probably.
Yeah. And it's sad that people do try to tear you down, but I think that a lot of times they can see where you're going to go, and they can kind of see that it's going to be really, really good. And they're like, it kind of shines a light on the problems in their life, if that makes sense.
Right. And typically the people who are telling you that are always coming up with excuses as to why their businesses aren't successful. And I see it all the time. Like, people are like, why aren't I getting any views? And people like me will go on there and give them actual step-by-step advice. And they're like, well, this is why I haven't done this. This is why I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, well, I mean, there you go. You're not willing to do the work, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they come up against friction, I think, when they first start out. And it's really hard when you first start out. But I think it's like learning to ski, right? And I don't know how to ski, so I don't know where that came from. But it's like, it's going to be really hard. And like, when you're first trying to learn how to do it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so hard forever. And you don't look ahead. Within like 2 months, you're like freaking expert. You're like, yeah, I don't know what, so it's not always that hard. It's not always an uphill struggle, and it does get easier. I mean, I'm not saying that when you get to the 100K mark, it's all going to be plain sailing, easy breezy, but you've got past the initial, like, oh, this is so hard.
Yeah, there's always different sets of challenges at every stage of growth, I think. But I'm looking back now at the problems that I was having back then that seemed like huge issues, and now it's a thing of the past, and it's something that's become second nature to me now. So you just gotta really have, and it goes back to the growth mindset and trying to be a problem solver, and that's gonna get you to where you want to be.
Definitely. So what has being a business owner taught you about yourself? Because I always say that being a business owner and scaling a business to the kind of level that you're at now is a very self-discovery journey kind of thing. It's like you're not only trying to build this thing, but you're also learning how you work. You're learning what you actually like without the boss yelling in your face. It's like a real self-discovery journey. I can't really think of how to word it right, but yeah. What has being a business owner taught you?
It's definitely taught me that I don't want to work for anybody else ever again. But I think the biggest thing has been that you don't have to be an expert in something to start doing it. And you don't have to be all-knowing, you just have to be resourceful. And that's what I've learned about myself, is that I'm extremely resourceful. If I don't know something, I'm going to find out how to do it. And, you know, like I said, when I first started, I didn't know anything about making jewelry. I didn't know anything about preserving flowers or any of that. I just figured it out, and I used the resources that I had, and I used you. And yeah, it's just made me think differently about the world in general. Like when people become doctors, they don't automatically know how to become a doctor. They go through a lot of schooling, and they find the resources they need to figure it out. And everybody who started a business started with nothing. So I think that's the biggest thing is not thinking that I had to be an expert before starting.
Yeah.
And basically I can do anything, you know.
I think once you know, and I always say to people, once you've scaled a handmade business, you can go on and do 1, 2, 3, 4 more others. And I mean, I know that you've kind of talked about that you've got something else in the pipeline, but has that become easier for you because you've gone through the journey that you have with the jewelry?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's all really a formula the way that I see it, you know. As long as you have a good idea, obviously, as long as you have a product that people want, you can scale pretty much anything, is what I've found.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. What is one crazy but true fact about you? It's one question I love to ask, but
crazy but true fact about me. So, okay, so one thing that is it's going to come across very strange because of the business that I'm in, but I hated nature for a big chunk of my life. Like, but between age like 9 and 17, I did not want to be outside. I hated hiking. I hated just being on the beach, getting sandy, getting dirty, did not like it. And then all of a sudden, like a switch flipped in my head. And now it's my biggest passion. And I just care about the environment so much. And that was just not present for a huge chunk of my life. So it's kind of funny to tell people that now, because that is basically what my business is about.
I love that. So you're a complete indoorsy person.
Yep. My family makes fun of me for it now. They're like, wow, all you want to do is go travel and go hiking and go camping and be in the outdoors. And you were not like that for most of your childhood.
I bet they're like, where were you when we wanted to go camping together? Now you're off doing it on your own.
Oh yeah. I definitely ruined some hiking trips.
I must say I've never been hiking, but I've been camping, and camping is not for me. Like, I've done camping. I did camping for years, and it was like, I don't get the idea of like leaving your home, like a nice warm comfy bed, nice bath, nice food, to go and lie on a tarp in a field with like what can only be described as a very thin tarp on top of you. I just don't
know. It's definitely not for everybody. Yeah, I'd say probably now, the older I get, the more I want a bed and a shower at least. But yeah, I just booked a trip for this summer, and we're staying in an Airbnb, but we're gonna hike during the day, so it's like the best of both worlds.
Oh, that's awesome. Where are you off to?
Colorado.
Oh, that's definitely one on my top list. Oh, definitely love that.
So beautiful. We just love it there. We've been a few times, but we're bringing our daughter for the first time, so it's going to be awesome.
Oh, that's so good. I hope she likes it. I hope she's like as outdoorsy as you. Are you like scared that she's going to hit like 9 and be like, no, I don't want to go outdoors?
I'm terrified. Yeah. So every time we take her on a hiking trip, and she's awesome. She's a little beast. Like, we just did a 4-mile, very hard hike with her a few weekends ago, and she was just dominating it. But I'm like trying to be overly positive the whole time. Like, yes, you're so strong. We can do this. You got this. You are awesome. So that, you know, hopefully it'll create the same love that I have for it, instead of what happened to me when I got yeah.
That is fantastic. So where can people find you? Where can people look up Grab Bag Botany? Just like saying that name. This. Where can people find you? And yeah, where do you hang out online?
Mostly on Instagram. It's just Grab Bag Botany. That's my handle. I also am Grab Bag Botany on Etsy, and then grabbagbotany.com is my website. But mostly I'm on Instagram.
Awesome. Jackie, it's been so good talking to you, catching up, hearing about what you've been up to. For you guys, definitely Jackie's shop and website and Instagram will be linked in the show notes. Don't forget to go and check out the show notes because we have some amazing resources and stuff that probably Jackie's used quite a bit in the past. You can also join the Facebook group down there as well. Jackie did mention that a fair few times. It's been really good chatting to you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and doing this recording.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Bye, Jackie.
Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to check the show notes for some more helpful links and also a link to our website as well. Also, you can watch the video version of this over on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to get your free spot on our masterclass, a 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate at handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion. We would also love it if you could leave us a review on iTunes, as it really helps us to reach more bosses in need. Subscribe to the show and we will see you on the next episode.